I like freedom. I'm sure most people do. My only problem arises is when people use freedom as a justification to engage in acts that harm the people around them. You know, like not taking the COVID vaccine. We are nearly 2 years into this pandemic. Cases are still surging, people are still dying in mass, new, more dangerous variants are now cropping up, there is seemingly no end in sight for this fucking pandemic, and yet people are still being babies about taking the vaccine. It's to the point where I support a vaccine mandate. I really do not fucking care about you screeching about my freedom. This is about people's lives. Many people are still dying from this fucking virus, and it is thanks to so many dipshits in this country not trusting the vaccine, not taking the vaccine. Look at all the red states comprising of anti-vaxxers. Look at how many of those people in those states are dying now, taking up ICU beds. Maybe there's some kind of connection. Maybe the more anti-vaxxers in an area, the more COVID deaths you see. Like, does it not fucking compute with you? Look at those anti-vax conservative radio hosts during the summer. Guess what they died of? COVID. Because they did not take this virus seriously. They didn't take the precautions needed against this virus to protect themselves, to protect those around them, and look, they died as a consequence. As mentioned earlier, ICUs are now being overflowed with COVID patients, many of whom probably did not take COVID seriously, didn't want to take the vaccine, and now they're dying in a hospital bed more than likely as a result of their complete fucking ignorance. And because ICUs are now being overflowed by COVID patients, we are now seeing other patients with other illnesses not being able to gain access to ICU beds. So many patients now are dying from deaths that would have been prevented had they got access to adequate treatment, but they couldn't because the bed they would have gotten is now occupied by some dumbass who refused to take the vaccine. When this anti-vax bullshit gets to a point where people are dying as a result of others not giving a flying fuck about the health and safety of those around them, I don't give a fuck anymore. Bring out a mandate. And I'm not saying the government should break into people's houses and forcefully inject the vaccine into somebody's arm. That's just preposterous. Do more of what we've already been seeing, you know? Employees having to get a vaccine to go back to work, or alternatively, having to get a COVID test every week. That may sound annoying, but that's the fucking point. It's supposed to be annoying. It's supposed to annoy someone into getting the vaccine. These dumbasses can scream about tyranny to the fucking rooftops. I won't give a shit because, again, these are people's lives at stake. People are dying as a result of these people's complete and utter ignorance, complete and utter refusal to take this virus seriously. I came across this absolutely heartbreaking story recently. It took her so fast. 4-year-old Texas preschooler dies of COVID within hours of first symptoms. A Texas preschooler died of COVID-19 this week within hours of a fever coming on, her family says. Kaylee Cook, 4, died in her sleep early Tuesday morning about 5 hours after she was found to have a fever. Her mother, Cara Harwood, told the Houston Chronicle. Kaylee was perfectly fine, and then she was gone, her mother was quoted saying. It took her so fast. So what the fuck do you have to say about that? Oh, was that 4-year-old weak? Should she have taken ivermectin? Like, Jesus fucking Christ. When you're at the point where you see 4-year-olds and other children die from COVID as a result of so many of these fucking idiots just refusing to do their part, refusing to give a shit about the public around them, again, I say do a fucking mandate, because this is getting out of fucking control at this point. This is not just an old person's disease. This is not just a quote-unquote weak person's disease. We are seeing young, healthy people die. We are seeing children die, and you still do not give a fuck. And yet you are the people who claim to care about the children, care about the family, and yet when a 4-year-old dies from COVID, you don't even so much as bat an eye. I'm not some tyrannical authoritarian. Neither does anyone who takes the vaccine, wears masks, and is in favor of mandates that are in place to protect those around you and yourselves from COVID. We just want to see people live. We want to see things get back to normal, and I'm sure you do too, but the difference between us and you are that we are able to take this virus seriously and understand that we have to do our part if we want to see some semblance of normalcy in hopefully the somewhat near future if we're extremely lucky. We are seeing so many people who would have otherwise had long, healthy lives have that completely cut short because of all these dipshits spreading around COVID in this country. Vaccine mandates are nothing fucking new. They have been required to enter school for years and years now. The reason we don't see things like measles, smallpox, or polio so prevalent anymore are because of vaccines and people being required to take said vaccines. And the same thing would happen with COVID if these people finally get a fucking grip and realize that they should take the vaccine if they want COVID to stop. Or at least just not be as prevalent of an issue anymore. I do not like this way of life, and you definitely do not as well. But if you don't do your part, if you don't take the vaccine, if you don't wear a mask, you're going to see this shit be dragged out for way longer than it really should be. And if you're going to be a fucking child about it, well then I say fuck your quote-unquote freedom, and make your life inconvenient to the point where you finally take the vaccine. The freedom to live a long, healthy, and happy life kind of supersedes the freedom to just not take the vaccine and continue to be a plague rat for COVID. If that makes me un-American, then so be it. I really do not care anymore. I've known humanity has been an ugly species for a very, very long time now, but goddamn, if you thought otherwise before this pandemic, I hope to fucking God that the reaction so many people have had to this pandemic opened your eyes. God damn. Anyway, I know this video probably won't go over well to certain people who may come across this, but you know what? Whatever. You people are stomping all over the freedom of people living happy, healthy, and long lives, so really you're the ones against freedom. Really you're the ones that are very tyrannical. Spout off in the comments all you want about how I'm an authoritarian. I don't have to care. Or read them. Anyway, that's all I have to say. Bye-bye.